From the dugout to the college admissions board, this is where the next generation of talent is forged. Welcome to the Recruiting Roundtable.
Hello, this is Mike Silvestri from the Recruiting Roundtable, and this is episode 2 of our podcast of the Recruiting Roundtable. Today, we are super excited to announce and introduce to everybody who's heading up our new softball division, which is Mikayla Santa Cruz. So welcome, Mikayla. We're going to give a little bit of a background. I'm going to let Mikayla talk about, first off, some of her background. Then we're going to talk about how we kind of found each other and so on. So Mikayla, welcome to the Recruiting Roundtable. Welcome to Florida Diamond Recruiting Services, and welcome to being the startup for our softball program, which we're super excited about. So thank you for coming, and let's get a little background on yourself. Tell everybody about yourself.
Thank you. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to kind of dive into who I am, what we want to do here. And yeah, so I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona. I played Division I softball at Arizona State and Creighton University. So I went through the entire recruiting process multiple times as a high school athlete, then again as a college transfer, and then navigating my 5th year as a graduate student due to COVID. So lots to go there. My parents and I spent years traveling the country, attending showcases, camps, tournaments, emailing coaches, working through the whole different instructors, the whole timeline of recruiting, the whole mess that we like to call it. And there was no clear roadmap.
Was that the recruiting
Yes.
process you guys did as a family on your own? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was lucky that I did have some coaches and other outlets that were able to guide me. However, there was just no clear roadmap. They were like, okay, it was like throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what stuck and what didn't. So going through that process, it just really stuck with me and my family. And now I want to help athletes and families avoid that same confusion by giving them just the honest evaluations and a clear plan instead of guesswork.
So obviously, I know that, and we're talking about you were a pitcher, and a good one, and someone who logged a lot of innings at the collegiate level. What, before we talk about how we found each other, what was the decision, and you and I have talked about this, but share this with everybody, to leave your comfort zone? I know you're from Tucson, which is not far from Scottsdale and Phoenix, and Arizona State, from that warm weather climate, right, to making the jump into Creighton, into a completely different part of the country. And I know you loved both experiences. So tell us how that happened, and then what that process was like for you going in the portal and everything.
Absolutely. So starting off, being recruited by Arizona State, that's obviously every person's dream, going D1, going to a big power conference school. And then getting there, I did pitch. I had good chemistry with the teammates. I just felt like something was missing. I was born and raised in Arizona. I wanted to try something different. And after speaking with some of my mentors and my family, I was like, why don't I see what else is out there? Now's the best opportunity to see what I could do. So went into the portal as a sophomore right before COVID hit. And I was like, I'm going to go look at 5 different schools and see who could fit best. As soon as I stepped on Creighton's campus, it just felt like home. Even though I had never experienced the cold, I went when it was snowing. It was completely different than what I'm used to. But I just knew the coaches, the players there, the teammates, the camaraderie that was already on campus. I wanted to be a part of that. So having transferred from 110 degree weather over to negative 20 degree weather was a little bit of an adjustment, I could say at least, but it was so much fun. And I'm glad that I put myself out of my comfort zone to experience that, because without it, I don't think I would be where I am today in many aspects of my life.
Okay. And you finished your career, your senior year at Creighton, from what I can see as their number one arm. You've logged a ton of innings there. So when you went into that portal, was it a frenzy right away? Like, what was that experience like?
So I went into the portal right before COVID, and that was right when COVID happened, at least in the softball world. That's when the portal started getting crazy, because in COVID, no one knew what was going on. The whole world felt like it shut down. So I got in right at the sweet moment when there were maybe 170 girls in the portal total across all divisions. So no one was really in there. It was just me at the Division 1 level with a few other girls. So I got picked up. There was still money. That was a huge thing. There was still scholarship available. And then when COVID hit, that was when the frenzy happened. That was when everyone joined the portal. That was when at one point there were over 1,000 girls in the portal. So I could only imagine being in the portal at that time.
Was the process maybe a little bit more of a demand for you because you're an arm, because you're a pitcher? Would that make sense, like in baseball as well? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. I was getting emails from different divisions, different schools that I had never heard of, but that gained my interest because I had never heard of them. So definitely.
So let's talk a little bit about how we found each other. So on our social media, I'm pretty active on that between Twitter and Instagram, and I happen to notice this Mikayla Santa Cruz randomly follows us. And so I just clicked, before I accept a follow request, I clicked on it and I was like, oh, softball player. And then I went and, like anybody would do, and I Googled who you were to see if you were who you said you were, and you were, and you are. You played Division 1 softball. I'm kind of scrolling through your stuff. I accept the follow request. I see that you played at Arizona State. I see you played at Creighton. And then I just shot you a direct message, which I really don't do, and basically said, hey, I've been looking for like 6 months to get somebody that I'm comfortable with for softball. We've interviewed people. I've interviewed former Division 1 head coaches. I've interviewed former Division 1. Just there was no chemistry there. There wasn't really a shared vision. And I text you, you immediately respond back with, I've got a plan for 2 years in the making of trying to do this. I need a platform. So it was kind of a perfect timing on everything. We hop on a call together, and yeah, you're ready. You have a vision for what you want to do, and we want to make this very clear to everybody. Like, yes, Florida Diamond Recruiting Services started as baseball, but softball is going to be its own division within our platform, and and if people have gone on our website, and I encourage everyone to do that, just go to www.fldrs.net. You'll see, you click on that softball button, it's going to take you to write a bunch of different information, recruiting stuff. So we want to make this for the girls. This is theirs. This is something that's going to be for them. There's going to be, of course, there's always going to be an overlap in anything with softball and baseball because they're similar sports, but the recruiting timelines are different. The recruiting calendars are different. Absolutely. So, and those are things that you're really aware of. So talk to us about, as we venture into this, and it's ironic. I've done plenty of speaking engagements over the past year, and I've been approached, I would say probably 10 times, 12 times by softball parents. Wow. And I'm like, I'm just not ready, guys. I don't have the structure right now. I don't have the person that I trust who can do this. I think I can project athletes and so on. That's what I do every day of my life as a professional baseball scout. But there's different things here that we need someone with softball. So now we have Mikayla here. And obviously we have a lot of those things in the works in this coming spring of getting you in front of people and so on. And today's our first day doing that. Talk to us a little bit about what are the timelines like for girls in softball today, starting obviously at the highest level, Division 1 level.
Absolutely. So the main thing is softball recruiting is different because it's never truly too early and it's never truly too late. I knew at a young age that I wanted to play college softball. At around age 10 or 12, I was already attending camps. I was trying to find a roadmap because I knew I wanted to be at the Division 1 level. So that's how I started getting my offers and my looks earlier at a younger age. Female athletes develop differently than male athletes. So coaches want to see growth over time for women. Seeing an athlete at 14 and then again at 17 or 18 allows coaches to evaluate and see your development, such as bat speed, arm strength, pitching mechanics, overall athleticism. So on the flip side, opportunities do exist late. transfers, injuries, roster changes, donor funds, creating different openings, scholarships, opportunities that people don't know about. Um, I actually reached out to some schools that are still recruiting 2026s and transfers for this upcoming semester. So
That,
the
I can tell
key
you,
is just having the right guidance.
yeah, that's different than baseball. So I'm sorry, go ahead. You said,
Absolutely. So
how do you
just
like
at
that?
a
So those girls that potentially are still 26s looking for homes, there's still potential opportunities out there if the targeted approach is used. A targeted approach is used. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. There's not a one size fits all with recruiting. However, as you know, on the baseball side, there's how do I explain this? There's so many different athletes out there. There's so many softball players out there that it's not just about exposure anymore. It's about what we do, connecting people, finding the right fit, guiding families. This is your right fit, communicating with coaches, having those connections that a lot of people don't have access to. And that's where they come to us. And that's where we can go ahead and help them out with that.
Okay. So I know when baseball changed their rules recruiting wise, we were having an issue in baseball with players, and it was really putting players in a bad spot with not a lot
Mm-hmm.
of repercussions for universities or colleges at the time, where pressure to commit in eighth grade and ninth grade was there. And hey, if you don't take it, little Joey's going to take it. So, we're a big SEC school or a big Power Four school, and I'm not blaming the coaches. That was the system that was set up. And then when the model was changed, and that model was changed, that started with the 2025 class, where August 1st became their first contact date that they could have personally, a text message, a phone call, or so on between the college coach and themselves. The model was based after softball. That 1,000%. Like they came out and said, we are basing this model after softball. I know softball's timeline's a little bit different, but the model was the same, kind of pushing back the idea of when a girl can have that actual contact to commit. So if you can talk a little bit about that timeline there for the player.
Absolutely. So I remember at a young age, I was getting recruited by some junior colleges, and I was in eighth grade. And I was
Wow.
having the pressure of, hey, we want to get you on campus. We want to get you out there. We want you to see what we're like. And I was so excited. I'm like, this is the pressure I want. I'm getting recruited. My parents are like, just take a beat, take a second. Let's see what else is out there. And then I remember one of my first college offers, there was a 3 business day timeline. I was told there's a 3 business day timeline. And I remember being
How old were you at
overwhelmed
the
with
time?
emotion.
How old were you then?
I was 16. I had just turned 16.
Okay. So
And
it's
as a
probably
16-year
sophomore
old,
year. Yeah.
exactly, I don't even know what I'm doing next week. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner on Friday night. I don't know anything like that. So having that pressure and saying you have 3 business days to decide if you want to have your 4 years, your future here, was a lot of pressure for a 16-year-old that not a lot of people understand. So I like that it's slowly been changing. There's been a lot less pressure on these athletes to have to hurry up, commit, talk to coaches all year round. There's really none of that now. And coaches really want to see people develop and spend the time to know the athlete. What do you bring to the table? What does your family bring to the table? That's a huge one that coaches look at that often gets overlooked as well. So you're recruiting not just a player, but also the entire family and what comes with the player as well.
Now, in softball's case too, in talking to former, well, he's a former first round pick from down here in South Florida. He's at a big time Power Four school right now that's generally top 5, top 10 in the country. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and just one of the things that I noticed watching college softball, because I do watch it, I enjoy watching it, is the level of athleticism is really, really good. I mean, I remember watching
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma a few years ago in the College World Series, and I'm like, I would draft the shortstop. Like, she can play. Like, she's
Absolutely.
athletic, she's physical, she
Grace
moves,
Lyons
she's
is a
got body
beast. Mm-hmm.
control, just phenomenal. And we were talking about some of that, him and I. I've actually even leaned on him a little bit because as the game in baseball continues, where this velocity is ramped up, right? 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
15 years ago, there was one guy who threw 100. That was Aroldis Chapman. Everybody's got someone who throws 100. There's kids throwing 100 in college now. And one of the things I was picking his brain about was, hey, what do you guys do with your girls and their trigger in softball because of that reaction time? And everything seems so simple in softball from a from a hitting approach because you have to make it simple. So it was interesting to hear him talk about that. But one of the other things that we talked about as well is the role of quality academics in recruiting in softball. Yes, there's more softball scholarships available, but just like in other non-revenue sports such as baseball and such as soccer or whatever it may be, when you can take a solid academic background and package that, that obviously is going to make hopefully a more attractive financial situation for families. So was that something that was part of your recruiting process as well?
Yes. So for me, I was told that full rides are rare, just based off of athletic ability. Academic money plays a huge part because, like you said, if you're not a basketball or a football team, you're not generating as much income. So the schools have to find different ways for how to fund these programs. Luckily, donors, NIL has come into play now, but before it's academic money. Where can you qualify? And I was able to qualify for academic money and athletic money. So that took a load off of the team being able to have more scholarship money available. But there's other girls that don't have that academic money. So what happens if you do get injured? There's really no barrier to protect you. There's no insurance. We don't have that in the collegiate level like you do at the pro level where you can insure your arm or you can insure your leg. That doesn't that's not on our level. So I always stress academics because you're able to get more money. Coaches love to see that as well. When they're recruiting someone, they want to see, do you take life seriously off the field? Yeah, you can practice. Yeah, you can put in extra time, but are you stressing academics? Are you focusing on your mental health? Are you focusing on different aspects that create you as a whole person rather than just, yeah, you could throw 67 miles an hour, but what else do you offer as a person as well?
So having a daughter that played at a really, really high end level of high school volleyball, top 20 team in the country, and state champ. One thing I noticed about her rosters throughout the years was girls seem to they take academics a little bit more seriously as a whole. Like there was a competitive nature for the team GPA, which I thought was great, and you hope that spills over into boys athletics as well. And I think you're starting to see some of that. But I think you hit something on the head right there when you talked about if you can take and make a larger portion of your scholarship the academic side and still get your athletic money. God forbid you do get hurt, you're not possibly on the chopping block because you have so much money invested in you athletically because there's a balance between what you have academically and athletically. So I think parents and families need to understand, like I see a lot on Twitter right now where there's a lot of girls because we're starting to follow more and more girls on Twitter and programs and so on because of you, obviously. And you're kind of pointing me in that direction. And you're seeing girls working on their swings off tees, off doing different drills, whether it's mechanical pitching stuff and so on. Hopefully there's that same effort going into the academic side because it matters in non-revenue sports. And softball, like baseball, like soccer, like lacrosse, these are generally non-revenue sports. Yes, you're seeing the girl, I believe, at Texas A&M, who's $1 million NIL girl, right? The pitcher, who's phenomenal. But those are outliers. We got to play the percentages here and what makes it more attractive to a program overall. Talk to us a little bit about like the priorities in recruiting for college programs. I know you've got friends that stayed in the game that are coaching collegially at Power Four schools and so on. I'm assuming pitching and catching, just like in any ball type sport, is going to be the priority, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But also, the key thing that I was always told, which it didn't really click with me until I hit college, was saying if you can hit the ball, they will find a place for you in the lineup and on the field. They want to be able to see, how do you win a game? You score runs. They will find a position for you on the field if you can hit the ball. If you're a pitcher, you're a catcher, and you have fundamentally everything sound and connected, that's what coaches want. Coaches want reliability. They want competitiveness and they want coachability too. Because if you think you're the stud of your team right now, it's going to be a rude wake up call when you show up on the first day at camp and you're like, I am not the number one team here. I have seniors that I'm playing with that are 20 and 21, 22 years old. You're at the bottom of the totem pole, sweetie. Like, you need to learn how to adapt, how to coach, how to learn from your older classmates in order to be the best, because you eventually will be in their spot, teaching the next girl below you and teaching the next generation below you.
Yeah. So I think, one of the things we'll kind of finish up here with is the idea of finally for us finding the right fit for softball and who to lead our softball division. And the comfort zone is as high as it can be with you, your communication levels, I know that you have a network, you've got a blueprint already that you're ready to go with. So, what I can say to parents out there is this is someone who's which was clearly an attraction for me when you started doing the background on her. She's played at the highest level of the game that the game has to offer, collegiately. She's had she's had probably, I would say, the most important role. The ball starts in her hand every at bat, every pitch, as a pitcher, and then having gone through the portal and having the ability to navigate that and take a chance on herself and go to a completely different climate, region, conference, all that type of stuff, and take positive aspects out of both. And we're excited with where this is going to go. We feel like with someone like Mikayla here and taking the lead with this, we're going to build a support staff around her, obviously with her input. So from a parental standpoint, it's an arrow up situation. We now have the platform for someone like Mikayla to be able to help your daughter, starting as early as ninth grade. Look, we're seeing it in baseball. I will tell you, Mikayla, 2 years ago, we would turn down ninth graders and say, just get back to us your senior year, and probably run the risk maybe of losing them to someone else. But it wasn't a money grab. We just didn't feel it was necessary. Now we do. But more importantly, we're equipped for it. And you hit the nail on the head early on today where you said it's never too early in softball. And we now have we have the platform, we have the resources, we have the player profile pages. And then as important as anything, like anything that recruiting requires, it's the ability for someone to pick up the phone, have the credibility to say, here's the breakdown of the player, here's the video of the player in 90 seconds or 100 seconds or less, because our video guy is going to do that to make sure it's not, too much for that coach to sit there and sift through. And here's a breakdown of their academics and athletics. This is why we feel this player is a fit for you. Do we need to get that player to camp? When can you come see that player? We'll be able to assist Mikayla, correct me if I'm wrong, with if they need some guidance with travel teams based off their regions, for those types of questions. So I think, in closing, if you could just say, like, your vision for I come to you as a ninth grade player. What are you going to be able to tell me as a family to take me from point A to point B to point C? Like, give me a little bit of that, as far as your experiences, and then how you would equate that moving forward with, player A.
So what I would really try and stress is awareness starts early, even if your action doesn't. So middle school, high school, junior high, it's about habits, not offers. So if the athlete wants to learn how to train, how to learn and how to carry themselves, so understanding goal setting, setting long-term and short-term goals for both softball and academics, strong study habits, so academic habits, early exposure, but not pressure. So attending camps for learning and experience, not really recruitment just yet. And then confidence and communication is huge. So getting comfortable introducing themselves and coaches asking questions. So that way by freshman, sophomore, and junior year, you're familiar with different college levels. You have basic understanding of how scholarships work and kind of what avenue you'll be able to fit into. I'll be able to cover all of that, work with athletes, go over recruiting timelines for them. And that way they have a step-by-step roadmap of where to go, where to turn, just so that way there's no confusion that I went through and that you see a lot of other baseball athletes go through as well.
Absolutely.
That's my goal, is to help girls find their school, find their fit, and set them up not only for college and playing at the level that they should and that they want to, but also preparing them for life outside of college. So having that structured roadmap to being the best person off the field and on the field.
That's awesome. And I think parents and players, one thing you can take from all that, if you're listening and you're kind of breaking that down, is the mentoring and consultation part is maybe it's at least as important, if not more important, than the actual, the evaluation part. It certainly all works together. Absolutely. Which eventually leads to finding the right fit, to find the right, where can you help that program by the time you get onto campus as a freshman. Mm-hmm. But the mentoring part leading up to that. I can tell you this, we now have, with Mikayla here, we have our full service plans that'll take you from start to finish, from the time you sign up, whether you're a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, or heck, even in your senior year, and you're still looking for a place to play. If it's the right fit, it's got to be the right fit for everybody. We're equipped now to offer those types of plans with our, along with the video and our player profile page and so on. So I encourage you to, softball families and parents, as we continue to move forward with this process, I encourage you to go onto our website, www.fldrs.net, click on our softball link. It'll take you right there. You can learn more. You can learn how to reach out to Mikayla through our website, and then from there, set up a consultation and see if this is something that could be potentially beneficial for your daughter and your family. I know it will be. I have full faith in what her experiences were as a player and what her vision is. The vision to me was the key component. It was the icing on the cake to the player experience. So, Mikayla, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we got a chance to introduce you to the community, via the Recruiting Roundtable podcast. And we look forward to a lot of great stuff with you heading up our softball division in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and I'm ready. So if anyone has any questions, comments, anything, my DMs are open. Again, it's at FDRS.softball if you want to reach us directly. And yeah, thank you. I'm excited to get going in the new year.
Awesome. Happy holidays, Mikayla. We'll be in touch soon, of course. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
That's a wrap on this week's edition of the Recruiting Roundtable. Join us next time as we continue to guide athletes and their parents on the recruiting process on and off the diamond.